controllers.
Hey, didn't see you there. Welcome back to Capes and Controllers. This is a show where each week we discuss 3 topics. One about video games, one that's in the world of TV and movies, and one about pretty much anything else. I'm here with my boy Jake Helmen,
Do you believe in life after love?
my boy Adam Pannel,
Yes, I do believe in life after love.
and I'm always here with myself, Michael Himes. Love doesn't exist. And this week, our first topic is streaming games. There's been like some interesting news about this lately with Google and Apple both coming to the table and saying that they're going to start streaming game services.
Yep.
And I thought it'd be interesting to talk about, like, you know, what does that mean for gaming in general? Is it feasible? Will it draw a bigger market? Or, like, will we even have physical releases anymore? Which, I mean, it's tough to gauge what's a fad and what isn't, too.
True. But with the way that movies are going,
That's true.
you have to almost assume.
Yeah, but like, you know, and I guess it's the thing with like ebooks too. Like everybody uses ebooks now, but like there's a pretty good following of people that are just like, I just like the way a book feels.
That's a good point.
I'm one of those people, so I'm
Yeah,
making
me
fun of
too.
myself. But
Me too. I don't think print books will ever go out of style. You know, feeling that crisp page,
the old book smell.
that old book smell.
It creaks when you open the book.
So,
Creaks.
what do you guys think? Do you think you know people will forgo the hard version of the game? You know, that video game smell, and
Yeah.
go.
You have to-
Are we moving toward a future where it's all online now?
That's a good question.
We've certainly already got to the point where I think it's less physical.
Oh yeah, I mean, online stores are huge now. I'm sure that hardcover sales of games have been going down for years just because everybody gets it in the store for
Yep.
whatever console they're using.
Yep, it's usually cheaper.
Hmm Yeah, especially with like Steam sales and everything.
Yeah.
And it's usually dependent on the retailer if a game's price on the shelf goes down.
Right.
And you'll see it at least delayed, if not never happening for games that are popular. Like, I know that Skyrim pretty much sold for $60 for years, just because they.
GTA 5.
Yeah, GTA 5 is probably still selling for $60,
Yeah.
just because
Maybe.
people will still buy them at that price.
Yeah.
But I'm sure that's become a less viable method too, just because everybody's buying it through the store.
Yeah. So we've definitely become more digital with games.
Mm-hmm. And
But
there's,
it's
like,
still about owning the games in a way.
mhm.
So I think the transition here is the transition that music has gone through already,
Okay.
where you would buy CDs and records, and then that became online and iTunes,
Mhm.
and now that is all streaming.
Yeah, now it's like
and
Apple
so
Music.
we're right now in the place where iTunes is still a thing, but Spotify just joined the market and said, "Hey, we're alive too."
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So are people going to adopt it as much as they did music?
I don't know if as much as music did, but I could definitely see it becoming huge.
Yeah.
It's just really weird to think that, like, especially with the way that gaming has been moving, pretty much everything has been moving to be like it went from you own it to you own it, but it's digital, to now everything is a subscription.
Yeah,
And you have it until you stop paying them for it.
you rent all of it.
You rent it and then you pay late fees forever
Exactly.
because you're not giving it back.
Yeah, that's true. Actually, yeah.
Yeah. It's so weird and I almost think that like a lot of people that don't like to pay full price for games are going to adopt it for sure.
Yeah.
Because I'm sure the service will not be the price of a game per month. And a lot of people like who have the time to commit to just play a game full through. I mean, I'm sure that's going to be amazing for them because you can just go in and you can finish a game and move on to the next one.
Yeah.
But there always is that section of people that like, I want the physical copy. I want this game and the memories it means for me, you know?
But is that significant enough to,
I-
like, for music? That's like not. Even
I don't think it will make a
thing
significant ding in the rise of streaming games, especially with how digital stores are huge.
Yeah. Like, I don't see. I'd be curious to see how long iTunes as a store stays around. It'll probably be a
really?
long time, but
Yeah.
I
Oh, yeah,
wonder.
For sure.
You know.
Well, because Apple Music is like pretty much the strictly superior option.
Yeah.
Especially for like younger people, like students. You know, they have a discount that lets you pay like $5 a month for it.
Yeah.
And you just go in and they're like, okay, you have access to all of iTunes until you stop paying us that $5 a month.
Right.
It's like, oh, okay, sure.
I'll take it all.
But I think going back to gamers, I don't think that physical copies will be in use for much longer. Moving forward into the next generation, I think with Google and Apple, we're seeing something completely different this time. And with technology, you know, you're always seeing this move toward being more convenient for consumers. And I think Google's Stadia and Apple, what's their new streaming service coming out?
Apple
Arcade?
Apple Arcade.
Yeah.
Apple Arcade. Yep, that's it. We're seeing that move toward convenience that I think will revolutionize people's consumption of video games, because Google promises that you can play their games on their Chrome browser at 60 FPS and at 4K resolution, which is crazy.
Yeah. So that's another spin-off
insane.
of the gaming thing, is that the ability to stream games. Now you can put the power in other people's hands, as in the processing
that
power.
means you can run like a super intensive game on your crap top, you know.
Yeah, and so that's becoming a thing too. That's an interesting market of, we have all these games and you can run these games through us. So we're giving you you're renting a console now, essentially.
Well, yeah, because it's almost like you have, and it's weird too, because you're really seeing like an image. I wonder if there's going to be like latency issues, because you're really seeing like an image or like a clone of the game, because the game and its data itself are not installed on your laptop.
Right.
So it's like sending commands to
That's
elsewhere.
That's what they've been working on. Yeah, is closing that latency gap, and it's only going to get smaller and smaller, because I know that they've been getting real close now. That's why we're seeing more and more of these.
Well, and it speaks to like, as far as like frame rate and everything goes, it speaks to like everything going digital now too. I remember even back in like the Xbox 360 days, like they included an option where if you had the disc of a game, you could like download it to your console.
Yeah.
And people would always say it ran better. And I don't know if that was because it had like trouble accessing stuff on the disc, because I know 360 disc readers weren't always the greatest.
Right. They weren't Blu-ray, so.
Yeah. And that essentially meant like it was always on your console. So, and it always ran the best that it could because it was running internally. And that's like kind of how games are now. You know, like if you get a disc for a game, like when Red Dead Redemption 2 came out, 100 gigabyte game. They're not putting that all on a disc and it's always running on there. Discs are essentially just checks to see if you still own the game. You know? Every once in a while it'll spin for a second and be like, oh, okay, this is the game. You still own it.
Right.
And it's weird how discs have become sort of like a let me in pass.
Have
instead
games
of the
almost
game.
have PC games ever shipped with like USB sticks now? Because I know, doesn't software do that now? They basically send you a USB stick with it on there.
I think some companies do it, but I don't know if PC games have gone there.
No.
I almost wonder if they just don't want to like. Well, I guess disc drives aren't even really a thing anymore.
Right. So I don't know.
Usually, like
Just
I
a
guess
key,
you get it
right.
and it's a key, and you
Right.
download it through whatever gaming service you play on.
Right.
That's interesting.
But yeah, that's an interesting thing too. Yeah, that's a aspect of game streaming that no other medium has. Is that we'll give you the games and we'll give you the power to play them.
Yeah. Which is why I personally like playing on my phone when it comes to games, because it's more accessible. It's more portable, and you know, my phone can process things just as quickly as a laptop. And
I'd contest that.
well,
I don't know about that, but
I mean, some of the more advanced phones on the market, they can process things
versus some of the worst laptops.
versus some of the,
right.
comparatively, yeah.
Yes.
The gap is closing.
Yeah, it is.
Definitely.
It is.
Well, at least on the lower end.
And
It only widens as
I think
laptops
it's
get better.
I think it's a smart move by these companies being able to provide high-end gaming experiences for people who don't want to spend thousands of dollars on a gaming laptop. Yeah.
The only thing I worry about is, so people have been complaining now because everyone and their mother is releasing an exclusive streaming service now.
Yep.
You know, with like Netflix, right?
Yep.
And now there's like DC Comics is releasing their own, and like Disney Plus is going to be a thing. There's like HBO Go, CBS All
CBS,
Access.
yeah.
There's so many
NBC.
streaming services out there that it's essentially becoming channels again.
Uh-huh.
And I'm sure somewhere along the line there will be someone that comes along and say, I can bundle multiple of these together for you for a price. And
Right.
now we just have regular
And then
TV
we're
again.
right back where we started.
And I worry that will happen to games too.
Totally.
Because people are always harp on like PlayStation has the best exclusives. But when we have 17 different streaming services that all have different exclusive games,
Yeah.
like, is that going to end up racking up to be more?
There's already a company
than
that
it's
did
worth.
that. EA.
That did what?
EA has their service that you pay EA and they will open up their library. You can download an EA game for the month.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it's already there. If Bethesda did that, they could easily do that right now.
Mm-hmm. Well, and especially with like Epic Games, they just released a competitor launcher to Steam. And people aren't happy with it, but
Yeah.
it's out there, and they're paying companies a whole bunch of money to put their games on there exclusively for a little bit. Like I think Borderlands 3 was just announced, but I think the first 6 months of it, you'll only be able to play it on Epic's launcher on PC.
That's crazy.
And that makes me weep for those PC players because
Yeah.
console never has that problem.
No, you're not gonna. Yeah. And so that's why I think the console streaming makes less sense right now.
Yeah.
PC streaming I think does make sense because like I said, you're paying for the games and the power. But whereas like PlayStation now, they open up their library and you can stream their games. And yes, you can stream them to your phone and stuff like that too, I think still. But it's still it's different, I think, than movie watching because games are something that you play over and over and over again, not necessarily like you do with movies. Maybe with songs, but I don't know. I'm just starting to think of like if I'm paying $20 a month and I'm just playing Call of Duty, at what point does that overtake just paying $60 for Call of Duty?
Yeah, that's why I'm thinking too. And it benefits people more who are fine with switching from game to game. you know?
Right. Yeah.
But I'm someone like sometimes I will literally go back and boot up my old PS2 and play through my old library of PS2 games.
Sure. And
I definitely don't want to pay for a streaming service forever, and it's probably not going to be around forever. You know, like if you my console isn't ever just going to disappear. But if they ever decide to just stop supporting that because not enough people are playing it, there goes all those games and the memories you made with them. And
sure. And that's already kind of an issue with it being online, with like games being digital.
Especially with like, PlayStation 4, everybody was mad because it wasn't backwards compatible.
Yep.
Everyone praised the Xbox One because they said, well, we don't have all these exclusives, but you can play all these previous titles and we're adding more all the time.
Yeah, and it did well. So that's a good point. There is a market there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because people want to be able to just have a be-all, end-all console that you can put any of your games into and just play it and relive them. And I almost think it alienates that market by saying, like, these are no longer permanent, Here are temporary games for you, and they're going to disappear when you stop paying us or when we move on.
But what if those games are on there? What if there are PS2 games on?
I mean, if they're on there forever, then...
If they're on the streaming service, I mean.
Oh, you're saying,
that
like, what if
your need if you wanted to play them.
Yeah, I mean, why not?
Because I think they might be, at least some of them.
But again, digital things are less permanent, Digital services are, at least. Everything on the internet stays forever. Don't let anybody tell you different. But
it's true.
Like a digital service can close down and say, we're no longer dedicating servers to this.
Totally.
And that can happen with anything with like multiplayer games too. Like there are some games that they just stop providing support for and you just can't play online anymore. But you can't walk into my house and like grab my copy of Hulk Ultimate Destruction and walk out the door and be like, we're no longer supporting this. See you later. I think that people also like to own things and have a collection,
Yeah.
Like even you'll see like a social media post like, look at all these cool things I've collected, and it's like a bunch of game cases, but you not say like, look at my Steam library, guys.
That's true.
That is a good point. That is a really good point.
But you are an old man, so
Oh yeah,
there's that.
I'm over the hill.
Yep.
2 decades in, and I'm old.
I love looking at video games on my wall.
I don't like it when these kids try to make everything online.
We all, I think we all relate to baby boomers in this. Us three.
Yeah,
in
we
this
really do,
podcast,
yeah.
right?
Yeah, oh yeah.
No, I agree. It sucks because it is, again, of course, I think it's the way it's gonna go.
Yep.
And I think it's the future too, because it's easier. You can take it everywhere you go. You can play it on everything. But then you lose the holding the games.
Well, and the market they're shooting for isn't us anymore. We're not
Nope.
the 12 and 13-year-olds who are going to, or
You're
the
right.
future 12 and 13-year-olds who
You're
are no
right.
longer going to. They didn't grow up with it, so they're not going to care if they have the cartridge or the game or the disc, you know. And it's interesting, like how small but like always growing and always coming in that market of 12 and 13-year-olds is, you know.
Totally. And I don't want to, oh my gosh, I don't want to talk about this without mentioning that we all pay for online services already
Oh yeah.
that give us games
Yep.
that are not permanent. So, I know. So, we're already being taught how to do it.
Yes.
In a way.
Oh yeah. Well,
Just a comment.
I mean, I don't. I think someone ran a steamroller above our heads.
That
here.
was Steam. They're here to roll.
We're actually flat now. The rest of this podcast will be in 2D sound.
Send us your flat, Stanley.
But like, I buy way fewer DVDs than I used to. You know, like if there's a movie that I really, really love, I'll go out and buy the Blu-ray of it. But like, if there's a movie on Netflix that I'm like, I really like that, and I think I have Netflix, so I'm not gonna go out and buy a physical copy of it. So we're definitely being like leaned that way with pretty much every piece of media that we consume. Even like comic books are doing that now. They're doing like digital releases, and it's like a pretty big market, which is crazy because comic books are all about like I'm holding it in my hands, you know. I almost think just about every like media source that we consume is probably going to go that way eventually, because it's just easier. It's convenient.
Yep. I'm waiting for a bundle service too, type of bundle services of like all of them.
Mm-hmm.
So you get like the media bundle
Yep.
by AT&T.
That was the thing when the net neutrality argument came around, and I was really mad about it. And no one knew what I was talking about, but it's like when your internet service provider can control what you do, and they suddenly decide, okay, do you want to pay for our extended media package? You can use Twitter too.
That's
on this
right.
one.
That's right. That's right.
So is that what it's going like?
Scary stuff.
Hi, Mega Corporation A has decided that this is for your viewing pleasure today.
Yeah, that's definitely, and we can wrap this up, but that's definitely something interesting too, is we're putting more emphasis now on the internet companies.
Mm-hmm.
It's a scary Black Mirror
It is
episode.
a scary thing. We're giving more things to them.
And I thought it was going to be kind of the other way around. I thought it was going to be like a company that pretty much did everything. Like, it would get more dispersed between like a bunch of big companies that were like media,
Right.
conglomerates, and that were also like, we provide our internet service too. But the super giants are only getting bigger.
Yeah.
Which is crazy. Yeah, and it's just going to keep on keeping on as it always does.
Sad ending to that.
Yeah. The future is bleak.
We hate it. The end.
Yeah. Evacuate the planet. Elon Musk was sending his roadster to Mars, but you should have been on that ship.
This part will be cut out, right?
No.
Our next topic is spoilers in movies. See, I made it so fluid that we can't cut it out.
Right.
Exactly. And it's like, everybody hates it when a big movie comes out and you get on social media and you're not looking for that movie. You're just scrolling. You're in your Instagram Explore feed and you're having a great time. And then suddenly you go over one picture and in the bottom right corner, it's like a meme and there's just text in the middle and it says like, look in the bottom right corner. And then you go down and it's like, oh, Darth Vader is Luke's dad. And you're like, what? No! Just like Luke said.
It can't be.
And it's interesting because most people hate spoilers.
Yep.
They
Most people. Continue.
if you were to spoil Game of Thrones for a lot of people, they would probably attack you.
Yes. Also, remember the Harry Potter thing
The Harry Potter thing?
when the books came out?
Were there books?
When the
What?
books came out,
What on it?
at the release dates of the books coming out, everyone's in line to get the books. Someone would grab the book, he would be in front in line,
And go
skip to the
back.
last page, and scream it out to the whole. There's a bunch of videos on YouTube.
Seriously?
They scream it out to the crowd. Everyone's like, "Oh my god!" Sometimes they just make it up.
Yeah.
It wasn't even a real
Did
spoiler.
that
That's
happen
funny.
to you?
No, it didn't happen to me. This is
Oh.
videos on YouTube.
Oh my god.
This was a whole thing when the books were coming out way back.
That's crazy.
I had
That
someone.
was a thing, though.
Thankfully, this was my second time seeing Infinity War when this happened. But as I was going into a theater, another showing of Infinity War had happened just before it, and people were walking out talking very loudly about the ending. And
Like, I can't believe.
yeah,
Yeah.
and sure, your first inclination is to do that, but wait until you're like at least in the parking lot. You know,
Right.
Like, don't be spoiling this. And the movie had come out like 2 days ago. You know, and it was a huge release. And I think in-person spoilers are even worse. Here comes that steamroller
roller's
again.
back.
And just keeps on rolling on.
Rolling.
That's right, folks. We've gone to one dimension. You're listening to a single dot of audio right now. So many bits.
So what are the rules of spoilers? Everybody?
Okay.
For
Rule number
movies.
1: avoid Adam Pannel at all costs.
We'll talk about Adam Pannel later. Let's talk about rules first. But
Okay.
yeah, yes. Rule 1 is avoid Adam. But after how long, when the movie comes out, can you talk about it, if ever?
I would say at least. See, this is tough.
Right.
Because it really varies from thing to thing. You know, if there's like a big cultural event like Infinity War, there's going to be something people are going to be talking about the snap in no time. I would prefer that those people, for like a huge thing like that everybody should know about, just wait like 2 or 3 weeks. You know, like
Okay.
we know we're not going to stop you from talking about this huge thing that you're really excited about.
Mm-hmm.
But for like pretty much anything else that's not like this changes how people make jokes about pop culture, you know, I'd say like a number of months, maybe 2 or 3 months, before publicly declaring spoilers.
Mm-hmm.
If you're talking to, I mean, you don't have to be paranoid about it, but like, I just don't like the, like, posting on everything like, I can't believe this, or can we talk about this yet? You know, but on something that like everyone sees.
If you still haven't seen it by 2 to 3 months, it's,
Yeah.
I mean,
You think
You're
so?
probably not that interested.
But
Yeah,
see, I
yeah.
wonder about like the Sixth Sense,
Yeah.
which we'll talk about later.
my girlfriend
Is
just
that-
saw
Are
that.
you
Still-
okay with spoiling
Can,
that right
can
now?
we still say that? I'm not comfortable saying that. That's one of the best spoilers of all time.
okay.
And I met someone the other day who is still doesn't know what the spoiler is and has not seen the movie.
I also think,
Yeah.
I think
And I was like, good
It's-
for you. Go watch that
Yeah.
movie and enjoy it.
it's different, again, for things that have twists.
Right.
If there's a big twist that's like a defining moment of the movie, that one stays in the vault forever. You don't,
Forever.
unless you're talking to someone that has seen the movie.
Yeah.
So
Then what about Endgame? These trailers that came out.
Mm-hmm.
That was the steamroller.
it's back for a vengeance.
So what about Endgame? Those trailers I felt like kind of spoiled the last movie. I felt like they did.
I felt.
Oh,
I
you
feel
think they
like-
spoiled Infinity War?
Kinda.
Well, with Infinity War, I mean, it was so huge. If you haven't seen Infinity War,
Infinity War became a huge
They
talking
kind of
point.
chose to spoil. I mean, and I guess that's the nature
Our
of
sequel trailers
having
are not
a sequel.
allowed to spoil the first movie.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I don't know. I guess they
like
are.
if I see John Wick 3, I'm like, crap, I didn't know that John Wick survived the second movie.
Right. I guess it is fair game at that point. If you're making another movie,
Or like,
you
he
assume
didn't dismantle the organization. They're after him
assume.
still.
that everyone's seen it.
Yeah, because like, and that sucks too.
Right.
Because
Right.
and that's why there's spoilers are such a weird touchy area.
Yeah.
Because everybody has different standards for it, and everything has a different standard for like what's okay with it. You know, like, and I would be low key mad if someone like there was a big movie like The Sixth Sense. You know, it wasn't like a world changing movie, but it was like it revolved around a pretty big spoiler. and someone just told me that, like in casual conversation, it
Yeah.
was like, oh yeah, dude, that like in the Sixth Sense, win this, like how Adam did.
Yeah, I was gonna say
Oh.
like someone we might know.
As I've talked about the event in 2 separate episodes, so I'm not going to bring it up again. But
For me, when you almost spoil the village, is that what you're doing?
yes,
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
the movie we're going to talk about today.
Yes. Yes.
Good ending. Good ending, guys.
So what about video games? Same-ish rule,
Video games,
or is it a never?
video games is so
It
tough
varies. Well,
because they're like an encapsulated experience, like, but they're not too.
They're not though.
it depends upon the game.
They're
Yeah,
not.
very
Depends upon the
dependent.
game. Same as the movie. Like when you
Yep.
when you have that one movie where it's like you can only watch it once, and then once you hit the spoiler, it's like you
You're
can never look
ruined.
at it again.
Yes,
yeah,
yes.
it's ruined. It's the entire story revolved around that. You
Well, the
know?
element of surprise is such a powerful storytelling factor too.
Yeah.
It gets any audience member invested. A huge thing happens, you weren't expecting it. You're immediately more tuned in
Yeah.
and more like emotionally unprepared for whatever's happening.
Irony. Yeah. Dramatic irony.
Yeah, I know.
It's hiding things from you.
I wouldn't even wish it upon anyone to know really anything about some of my favorite movies that I've watched. Some of my favorites or games or movies I've just gone in blind, and every single thing I encountered was a twist, was something I hadn't really seen before.
Yeah.
So even sharing just one spoiler, I feel like would have ruined it.
If
for me.
someone spoiled for me the twist of BioShock before I played it,
Mm-hmm.
I would have been so angry.
That would have ruined that game.
Yes,
Yeah.
because it's all about assuming that everything is fine.
Yep.
You need to go into everything neutral and not expecting some big curveball
Right. Or looking for something.
because it changes the experience.
Now, I'll be honest, because I am a terrible spoiler. I did know
Yes.
the ending of BioShock.
No.
Even before I played it, but BioShock Infinite, I bought it the first day it came out. I played through it. It was incredible. It was
Okay.
incredible.
Okay. So basically it varies is what the rule
Oh,
is.
yeah.
The rule is, what? I went into this conversation thinking I had such a hard stance on it too, and then as soon
I'm
as you said,
challenging you.
as soon as you challenged it, I was like, well, I wouldn't like that if that happened to me. And I was like, well, I guess I don't know anything.
You mean
anymore.
with like the after a certain time you can just talk
Yeah.
about it? Yeah.
Because I was like, well, that's a decent, but like there are some things, and you don't. Like if someone doesn't grasp how important a spoiler is for a movie, like if there's someone that's desensitized to spoilers and they're just like, oh yeah, this happens.
Yeah.
You are going to be way more mad about it than they would be if someone spoiled it for them, just because like, okay,
Right.
this is
They don't realize.
spoilers or whatever. But for like a good amount of people, like spoilers are everything. You go.
Totally.
Some people don't watch trailers; they want to
Yeah.
go into something
Yes.
completely blind.
Yes.
Couldn't
I
imagine
love
that.
doing that sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
And how about I'm reading something online right now about this. Things that happen in the beginning of the movies.
Can you spoil those?
Can you spoil those? Do those count as spoilers?
say don't do
yes,
it.
they do.
What?
Okay.
Because imagine, and I'm not gonna spoil anything here. I'm as vague
You're
as
going against your own rule here.
I'm as vague as possible here.
Oh no, you're saying they are spoilers.
Yes.
Okay, just kidding. You're not going against your own rule.
Imagine someone spoiling the beginning of Infinity War for you before you had seen Thor Ragnarok,
Well, that was my first thought. Yeah.
because it changes the status quo. The opening of that movie is very tied in with the other movie, and it hits you pretty emotionally and unsettles you immediately if you had seen Ragnarok and knew what was going on.
Yeah.
But if someone came and told me that before I saw Ragnarok, I'd be like, "What? That? Like, why even see it?"
Right. Right. Yeah.
And any good movie or any good story, the beginning is the hook. It drags you in. And for someone to reveal the beginning, and I'm a journalist, and when you're starting that beginning paragraph, it's called the lead, and the lead has to be something that'll just draw the reader in to the story that you're crafting. So for someone to ruin that shock factor that, the director was trying to put together at the very beginning of that scene, it just, I can still remember, Rey, during the Force, what was the episode 9?
The Last Jedi?
The Last Jedi.
Not The Last Jedi. Episode 8?
The Force Awakens.
The Force Awakens.
And
that's
it's also
it.
7 and 8, not 8 and 9.
Yeah.
Right, I was going to say.
7 and 8, not 8 and 9? Oh, shoot.
Yeah.
I'm jumping ahead of
9 is
myself.
yet to come out.
But I can still see Rey running across that desert
Dating
to
this
the
podcast.
Millennium Falcon. And if anyone would have ruined that beginning for me,
Like you just did.
oh man! Spoiler alert. We'll touch on this later. How much of a spoiler I am.
Yeah.
But
You know what?
So-
it's been some time now, right? Like based upon the
Enough
rules
time
that
has
we've
passed.
just established.
You're setting your own rules now. The rules are out.
Wait, the Millennium Falcon survives A New Hope?
What?
I thought they were going to get blown out of the sky.
What?
I mean, there's just so much
Haven't seen
shock
8
and
yet.
so much, intensity within those beginning scenes.
I haven't seen episode 6.
I would still like to be that wide-eyed, kid sitting in that movie theater watching that scene play out.
So according to, this is entertainment.com, they have the rules of spoilers.
Oh, rules, yeah. They know best.
Well, but where I got the whole thing from, anything that happens in the first half hour of a movie is not a spoiler.
Disagree.
It's fine if directors like J.J. Abrams and Christopher Nolan prefer to keep everything about their movies under lock and key, but moviegoers should feel no such compulsion. Such secrecy threatens to turn our greater culture of film discussion into an endless conversation of, have you seen this movie? You should see it. That's all I'm going to say. So how do you feel about that?
I think it should be that.
That we can't talk about movies.
Why discuss, unless someone is never intending to see a movie,
Yeah.
why are you discussing the whole movie with them anyway? That's a completely one-sided conversation.
True.
I can say go see The Prestige. There's crazy stuff that happens in it. That's all I'm going to tell you. It's really good.
Okay.
And I enjoyed the movie. Please go see it because I want you to enjoy it too.
Okay.
But if I sit there and regale you the entire plot of The Prestige, you're just sitting there. You're
Sure.
like, oh, really? Did that happen? But you have this own vision in your head of what's going on. But it's like seeing a child's drawing of a famous painter's artwork.
Okay.
Because all you're going to
I
be
gotta
doing is regurgitating stuff to the best of your memory. And then
Right.
that filters through what I see in my head when you tell that to me.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And then you think if you're in a group, like if it was us three, you would agree, you just say, just watch it and you just move on.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, I don't think that you can have a good involved conversation about a movie if you haven't seen it.
Sure.
Or at least if you really don't plan on ever seeing it and you looked up the synopsis, then okay, sure, why not?
Yeah. And we had to talk about it for the show, so it was a little different. But Aquaman,
Yeah.
I hadn't seen that and both of you guys had seen
And we
that. You
sure
talked a lot
spoiled
about
the
it.
crap out of it for you. And I feel really bad about that.
All of you.
It's okay, but I'm just giving an example
Yeah.
of kind of a group setting
Mhm.
where it's like, yeah, it was bad, and here's all the scenes.
Well, I almost think I let myself break the rule because I didn't like it,
Yeah, right.
And I almost was like,
You don't deserve it.
Jake won't like it anyway.
Right.
I might as well just tell him the whole movie.
Right,
And
right.
also anybody that listens to this.
Yeah, because as soon as I saw it, I started telling you, Michael, how much I disliked it.
And I didn't believe you.
And you start telling scenes that probably suck.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Which is an interesting thing.
So when it comes to bad movies, I want other people I know to save money and save themselves a lot of time and heartache at the end of the day.
And then it gets subjective again too, because if you think oh man, episode 5 of Star Wars, absolute trash, when it's such a cheap gimmick that Darth Vader was his dad the whole time.
Yeah.
Right.
Right. And you're like, hey.
You're
yeah.
like, wait, no.
Yeah. So
This
that's
is
a
a
good
beloved
point.
franchise for me.
You can't be, like you said earlier, if the spoiler isn't as big of a deal to you have to think about other people.
Mm-hmm. And I sure didn't in that first episode, and I totally spoiled all of Aquaman. But hey, it's bad. So and my mistakes aren't mistakes. It was bad, so I can tell you.
we stand by what we said.
Yeah, I stand by spoiling everybody that listens to the first episode about Aquaman.
Yeah. So I think that's a good set of rules. I think just don't be a dick.
Mm-hmm. And don't forget rule number 1: never be around Adam Pannel.
Oh yeah, we got to have Adam Pannel.
Yeah.
What's wrong with Adam?
Adam
Oh man, where do we begin?
self-spoils himself for everything.
Everything.
Like, I think he says his excuse is that he doesn't like surprises, and that he just wants to know everything.
Wrong.
Wrong.
He's doing the Trump
But
thing.
you've told me that excuse before, Adam.
He also enjoys spoiling for other people.
Yeah. I mean, and you know what? I've said it in 2 other episodes, but I'll say it again. We discussed watching The Village, and which we're going to talk about in this episode. And I asked Adam and Jake if they had seen it. And Jake hadn't seen it.
Nope.
And Adam immediately launches into, oh, is that the one where it's revealed at the end that... Oh,
I love a good ending. That's why what's his name? M. Night
Shyamalan.
Shamalama ding dong.
Shyamalan. That's why
He will
one of my
never.
favorites.
He will never not have that name.
No, ever.
He's one of my favorites because his endings are great, and I love a good ending. I love a good ending.
So there's an interesting thing about books, because I used to do that too, where you'd flip to the last page.
Oh, you did that?
I used to do
Self-spoiling
that.
is the
It's so
worst
hard.
kind of
It's so
spoiling.
hard not to with a book, and I don't know why. I think it's because it's like in my hands, and I could
Yeah.
physically move the story, and it'd be like,
That's
let me just
fair.
take a peek.
Yeah.
And I start to read, and I can slam it closed when I'm like, I've read enough. But that's something interesting. But I know you do that with every book that you read, Adam.
every single book I do that, and I read the ending. I'm in a 13-book fantasy series right now.
No.
What's it called?
Did you go to the last book?
okay.
The
Look
Wheel
at
of
the
Time. Yeah.
No.
I was in the bookstore the other day,
No.
and I looked over, and there was the last book sitting on the shelf. And I was like, it couldn't hurt
Perfect.
for me to read like a
There
couple
won't be any spoilers in this.
So
We
I'm-
were at
wow.
Draxalon's funeral.
So you went beyond flipping to the last page. You flipped to the last book.
Oh yeah, and I started reading the beginning of the last book, and I'm like, this doesn't make any sense. Flips to the last page,
Oh, no.
and then one of the major
There it
characters
was.
ends up dying. Yeah,
Gosh dang it, Adam.
But why?
I
just why?
Do you not like narrative tension? Like, do you not like to... Because I know I enjoy when a movie makes me feel unsettled and be like, I don't know if they're going to make it out of this.
Right.
But, like, do you not like that feeling?
I guess I like the feeling of knowing something before anyone else does. I
You're
was
like,
one of, yeah,
wait for this part.
I was one of those pretentious kids as a child.
But, Adam, you had... And I'm not going to spoil it because I've learned my lesson, but you, like... I went to go see Into the Spider-Verse with you.
Yeah.
And your reaction when the big twist reveal of a character's identity
yeah.
happened was like nothing short of like astounded, and like it was such a pure like emotion moment. Like, really?
Yeah.
Like, why would you rob yourself of that?
I'm not sure. I guess I'm so addicted to the feeling of, knowing something before someone else, so that way the entire time I can tell them, oh, wait till you see this
I hate it when
happen.
people
Oh,
do that
wait
to me,
till
though.
you
Yeah,
see
that's the
this
worst.
happen." And
Nobody likes that.
yeah, it does rob me of that emotional just astonishment. And I mean, after that movie and a bunch of other stuff, that I've read or movies I've watched, having that same reaction, that it is kind of better than just knowing everything beforehand, and then when I'm talking with someone, I'll be like, "Ooh, you wouldn't believe what this ending is."
It's a power thing, is what it is.
It is.
You
it
like
is. It's
knowing more
weird.
than other
You
people.
want to rob those people of that astonishment you have.
But like, why would you do that with the book series? Do you have friends that you talked about that book series with?
I love.
Because that's just for you.
Yeah. This is just for me. And when I'm really interested in something or fascinated by something, I don't just want to like. I could go through the entire series and read it, and which I'll still do. But when I'm really invested in something, I want to know every single little part of what makes that world work. So I'm more interested in just the semantics of, and just like the inner workings of how the author wanted to mold the story. than actually
But-
being astounded by what happens.
But how the author wanted to mold the story is for you to slowly discover what the world is built by through
Right.
their writing.
That's how they wrote it.
Yeah, but
They didn't write it for you to be like, oh, so magic works by draining their life force and nobody knew, you know? Like,
Right. They wrote it in that order for a reason.
Yeah, but it's so interesting to go through the story, look at the foreshadowing. For me, like
look at the foreshadowing and then immediately get to the conclusion.
yeah, just I just like breaking things open and seeing how they work rather than, just letting things slowly unfold and being naturally surprised like how the author intended. Like that way I can see from the top down what they intended to do and in what order they intended.
So
I see what you're saying.
You're looking for
Yeah.
more of like that's how it all fits together.
Yeah.
Like that's how they wrote this book.
Yeah. I like seeing how all of the puzzle
movie.
pieces fit together.
Well, and I get like people usually do that, but they want to do that on a second read.
Exactly.
So people will go through and be like, wow, I was astonished by all this stuff. And they'll be like, guys, read it again. Go back and see all the little places where this was hinted
Because
at.
I'd argue that if you're trying to figure out why it works this certain way, you are robbing yourself of what the author is trying to convey onto you. If you know what I'm saying. Like the author wrote this specific chapter. We're talking about books now. Whatever.
Yeah.
This conveys to movies too. The author wrote this certain chapter like this so that the reader would feel this. And you're robbing yourself of that. And you wouldn't know that he was trying to convey that unless you just read it.
Yeah, I think you almost obscure what the author wants you to see by doing that.
Yeah,
you know?
right. Even though you're seeing it from top down, you're assuming, oh yes, peasants would feel sad when they read this chapter, wouldn't they? And you'd have no idea. Maybe they wouldn't.
I bet people with emotions would be really sad.
They wouldn't believe what's going to happen in the next scene.
Exactly.
I can just imagine their little hearts breaking.
Exactly. That's literally your position, though. Like that's a character, but that's actually how you
Yeah,
feel.
maybe it's a power thing. I don't know.
It's totally a power thing. Also, and to another whole separate thing, you like to watch the endings of movies and not the
Yes.
rest of the movie.
No,
So what is that about?
my time is valuable.
I've got things to do. I'm a man of business.
I'll look at the watch and be
Here
like,
for the
well,
spoiler,
I have a
I'm in and I'm
deadline.
out.
You've got 5 minutes.
Spoiled that one. On to the next one.
Aha. So that's the ending.
Do you look up?
I can't wait to ruin my coworker's day with this.
Do you look up biggest twists in movies and then just go through and Google the ending on YouTube?
Yes,
Okay.
I will. Yes, I
Okay.
will.
That's crazy.
Or whenever someone recommends something to you, like, dude, you gotta watch the Lorax. Something crazy happens in the Lorax, and you're like, well, I gotta see it
That's
right
how you
now.
fool Adam,
Let me
yeah.
look up the ending.
Watch a
Crazy
movie.
things that happened in the Lorax.
Turns out he doesn't speak
Type
for the
that
trees
into
after
YouTube.
all.
Speak
The
for the
trees
trees.
speak for him.
I mean, sometimes, my, I'll hear, Adam, your deadline's in like 3 hours, and I'll be sitting there for the first 30 minutes. I'll be like, well, I got 30 minutes to burn, but I don't have two and a half hours to watch this movie. Let's look up and see what the ending
And
was.
it's totally a power thing too, again, because you watch, like, let's say the ending of The Village, and you go, ha, they must have been really saddened by that. Anyways, moving on.
Yeah, I'd be like, ooh, I bet. I can't imagine the wonder they were feeling. Like, why don't you want to feel that yourself?
Right,
Why do you want that to
exactly.
be like a secondhand experience?
It's like we're in a zoo or something. Ah, humans are so crazy. How they
When the
feel about this.
zookeeper steals this monkey's food away, I bet he'll be real sad about it.
This is the control group. And this is
Yeah. Oh no, we're like
Yeah.
lab subjects. to
Totally,
you,
that's what
Adam.
I'm saying.
You're viewing us through like a glass with, like a one-way mirror, right? And you're looking at it and be like, those idiots. They don't know that the director's just going to pull their heartstrings the whole movie, but I know.
I'd love you to write a story that has a twist in it.
really,
I'd like to know how you did it.
And because
I'd
you
hope
have
you've
so
been
much
learning off of
since
this
you have so
experience.
much experience knowing what breaks people's hearts and what
Yeah.
they'll be ready
Yeah,
for.
would you be good at it?
Would you
I don't
write
know.
the perfect twist?
The perfect twist.
ooh,
Maybe you would. Maybe you wouldn't.
Maybe he'd be the perfect defense against himself. Like he'd write a twist in such a way that you can't figure it out by going to the end.
Right. That's what I was gonna say. You'd like hide it somewhere else.
Oh man, that's
Or
interesting.
he'd say it at the beginning or something, and it'd be
Yeah.
like, the twist is at the beginning.
I've always
read the
contemplated
book.
writing a book.
Are people like Adam, like getting us ready for a wave of like super directors that craft twists that can't be spoiled?
Even for themselves?
The director doesn't
Director
even know the
doesn't know
spoiler.
until it happens.
They're in the pre-screening and they're like, "What? I didn't say this should happen." But anyway,
That's a good skit.
We're entering a wave of creative genius.
Yes.
this is I mean that's spoilers in movies, honestly. But just remember,
Everything.
those other rules don't matter as much as rule number 1: do not be near Adam Pannel
Don't talk to Adam Pannel about
ever.
I'm so
Just
sorry.
don't talk to
that
He's a
was-
nice guy, but
general.
he's just gonna do it to you.
Dobby died in Harry Potter.
No, whoa! That's an
It's not a spoiler.
Sorry,
Didn't
that
happen.
just slipped out.
Didn't happen.
Sorry.
Calm down, everybody.
That
Didn't
was
happen.
just a nasty,
It sucks
nasty
that,
cough.
Close your ears. As Michael said.
It sucks that I almost. Adam used me as the weapon there because he said that thing that could have just been random yelling, and then I almost said that's an actual spoiler, and
You
then
did,
I
yeah.
just made that
You
spoiler
did.
real.
You did.
Technically, it's
like,
your fault.
That's what I'm
It's-
saying. It was a little bit your
You
fault.
could have played it off and been like,
could have been
oh,
like,
that
"That's
doesn't-
dumb."
He played us
Yeah.
like a damn
That's
fiddle.
He's too smart.
He's
Breaking the spoiler wall.
Panel.
Darn, got me again.
Rats. Anyway, Adam Panel bad, spoilers bad,
Adam, no
movie's
spoiling.
good.
Yeah.
Our third topic is fun.
Yay.
And crazy, and it's kind of a game, but it's kind of just 3 people yelling at each other.
We like games.
So this topic started out as like, who'd we want to see fight each other? And then somewhere along the way of the creative process turned into who would win, which, I would like to see all these characters fight each other, but some of them have fought before.
Mm-hmm.
It's really about who would win.
Who should win?
Yeah, who should win? I think that's an important distinction.
Mm-hmm.
So this is comic character-based stupidity removed. So if someone is said to be so smart in the comics, right? They would in this fight between these two characters, they would act as smart as they are portrayed to be. So it's not like, oh no, this superhero totally forgot that they had this power. Like in Dragon Ball Z, how Goku never uses the instant transmission when it's his best attack, when it's his best technique, because he can literally teleport, and he never uses it because, well, whatever, the plot doesn't demand it right now.
Yes.
So this is plot removed, plot armor removed. Are we going morals on or morals off? So, like, if a character wouldn't kill somebody, is this a fight to the death? Is this a fight to knockout?
This is a fight to the death for
Well,
me.
I think it's to the death.
To the death, no morals?
No more.
I think if it's to the death, then it's unfair to have morals on. Because we're assuming that each character is fighting to survive here.
Okay.
Okay,
Right?
so for a future fight of mine, I think my fight relies on a character's morals and their moral values.
Oh, I see.
Um,
I see who you're
can
trying
we
to
play
gimp
it
here.
by a
Uh-huh.
fight-by-fight basis?
I think so. I think we could talk about it with each fight.
Okay,
Alright.
okay, good.
Where's the first fight, Michael?
The first fight is the webhead himself, Spider-Man, versus Wolverine, Weapon
And-
X.
and
Michael,
Wolverine
you are
wins that.
taking Spider-Man's side, and you, Jake, are taking Wolverine's side.
Yeah.
Okay, and I will determine the outcome.
He's gonna
Like-
win.
Who's going to win? Okay. So what are your guys' arguments? Who wants to?
think
who wants
Michael
to take
should
up the first
begin.
one? Okay.
All right, so Spidey slaps this fight easy.
What?
So my main point of contention here is that Wolverine doesn't even have super strength. So he's a dude with an adamantium skeleton. So he's super durable. He can heal super quickly. But he doesn't have any superhuman agility, speed, or strength to back it up. Spider-Man is straight up metahuman. He swings 3-ton wrecking balls over his head. He can leap from building to building, and he has gadgets to use. Wolverine's tools are all connected to him. And he just doesn't have the strength or the speed to stop Spidey, especially or to get past the spider sense. An early warning danger alert system against someone who isn't fast enough to bypass it is going to be pretty much a be-all, end-all. And especially with the little boost that during the Superior Spider-Man run, in which Dr. Otto Octavius, a.k.a. Doc Ock, was swapped minds with Spider-Man, he punched Wolverine in the face without holding back and knocked him out in one punch. So I'm thinking Spidey takes this pretty easy.
Interesting you say that, Michael.
All right, Jake.
I'd argue that
actually-
Wolverine would rip him to shreds.
Rip him to shreds?
Rip him to shreds.
How so?
Easy. That's how.
Now this is epic.
I think your point.
Convincing.
I think your point about him having all of his abilities tied to him is like a good thing. I don't think that's a bad thing.
He has no range.
He can easily, destroy whatever it is that is helping Spider-Man. If it's his gadgets, just rip him to shreds. It's fine.
They're on his wrists.
They're gone.
How's he gonna
They're
get to
gone.
him?
They're dead. The whole I think the main point that you're really forgetting though is that it's Wolverine's ability to regenerate,
To heal, yeah.
to heal. Spider-Man has none of that. Spider-Man is
He's more durable.
all he's got is just speed
Yep.
and durability.
And strength.
Yeah, and some strength
And agility and spider sense.
and spider sense. But that's it.
But that's all
That's
he's got.
And he can climb on walls. So what?
Yep.
So what?
Spider-Man's
He's got to come down to Wolverine's level at some point. He can't just be swinging around. There's no big deal.
He doesn't
One
need to swing
swipe of
around.
Wolverine's super claw, and you're done. One
Super
swipe
claw.
across the chest. There's no healing
Across
from
the
that.
chest.
There's no healing
There
from
is.
that. He's gonna bleed
And
out.
Spider-Man has rapid healing.
He's
Not
gonna
as
bleed
rapid as
out on the
Wolverine.
floor, and he's done. Spider-Man does the same thing. He could have some gadget with a super claw, and he could scratch right back, scratch right at the door, and guess what? Wolverine would heal right back up.
Michael,
Well-
he brings up a good point about Spider-Man having to come down to Wolverine's level.
See, that would be okay if Spider-Man hasn't developed his own martial art, which Wolverine is.
So is Wolverine. Wolverine is hand-to-hand combat.
Wolverine has swinging his claws at you wildly until you get hit by them. Spider-Man is trained in his martial art that he developed himself.
So did Wolverine.
No,
It's a
he
Wolverine
didn't.
style of fighting.
It's if the style of fighting is wildly throwing your claws at them. It's not a
Your
martial
style
art.
of fighting with Spider-Man is throwing some wings around, swinging around, some swings, some wings, whatever the hell you call it.
Like an actual hand-to-hand martial art.
No, he's not doing
And
any real martial art.
Spider-Man has used his webbing before to hold buildings together. He once shot it onto the face of a longtime Wolverine rival. What's his name? He's Wolverine's. He's his brother in the X-Men Origins movie.
Oh, Sabretooth.
Yes. He shot webbing onto Sabretooth's face, and when Sabretooth tried to pull it off, he ripped the skin off of his face. Off. This webbing is clearly strong enough to hold someone without super strength in place. Spidey gets, with the agility that Wolverine can't match, gets in 4 shots. That immobilizes all of his limbs. So you can't cut the webbing if your wrists are tied down.
Oh, really? Okay.
I mean,
All right.
yeah, if you get your arm stuck by the wrist,
Yes.
you put your claws out, how are you going to cut that webbing?
Cut it with the other hand.
Well, that's why you got to...
That does seem
You do both. Oh, you gotta be really
Spider-Man-
fast about it.
Yeah, because that's Spider-Man's thing.
Well, I
that does seem
mean,
logical, Michael. He can't just reach over and cut it off with the
just
other hand.
cut it off.
Yeah.
But
All I'm saying here is that Spider-Man is faster, stronger, smarter, and has more powers than Wolverine does.
he may be some of those things. But you can't stop the fact that this dude heals when he gets hurt, and he has the strongest metal, adamantium, on his hand, which is adamantium, whatever it is, stronger than anything that Spider-Man could provide.
Well, that's true, but
Spider-Man can rip out faces. Well, so can Wolverine, with just a little scratch.
All right.
Wolverine's brain
little
isn't
nip.
made out of adamantium.
All
Though.
right.
If you get that to wobble around in his skull a little bit, it's not gonna feel too good.
Okay.
right.
I think we have a winner here. Jake, you brought up some good points. You know, if Wolverine, if one of his hands was stuck, I mean, you can just reach over. He can just cut.
That was what it came
himself
down
out
to,
of it.
honestly.
Yeah.
So yeah, that does seem about right. But I think the clear winner is
The clear winner.
He's pretty clear
Spider-Man.
winner.
It's clear.
I'd argue it's pretty clear. But since that was my argument,
Right. I was like, no,
think
duh,
I'm a
it's
little
clear.
biased.
So yeah. Congrats, Michael.
Wow.
The jury has heard your
Woo!
has heard your evidence, and we declare that Spider-Man is
Comment
is the
below
clear
if
winner.
I win.
Comment below and be mad either way.
Yes, please
Even
be
if
mad.
if all of our choices actually agree with you,
Be
just
mad about how much you agree.
Yeah.
For the next one, to keep it more in depth, I'm gonna time it.
Ooh, okay. How much
Okay.
time do we have?
I don't know. I was trying to figure out what we did there. I think it was probably about 5-ish minutes.
Okay.
It was probably a little longer than 5-ish minutes, but I think we should do like 5.
Stop it at 5, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, our next round is going to be Batman, the Bat of Gotham, versus Superman, the Man of
classic.
Steel.
The classic.
And Superman would whoop. And that's my argument.
And who disagrees?
And Adam over
I
here
strongly disagree.
Strongly
claims
disagree.
that Batman would win.
kick Superman's ascots
Wow.
because I don't cuss.
So we're gonna
Here's the thing
have.
here.
Here's what we'll do. I'm gonna do
So-
2 minutes, 2 minutes, 1 minute, 1 minute.
Okay. But
Okay.
before we begin that, Adam's question earlier about wanting to completely gimp Superman. in
Yes,
this
we gotta
fight.
talk about that. Yes.
Nerf him.
So is that your?
Okay, so I say
I mean, this is a battle to win.
this is a battle to win.
Is
but,
it to the death?
And what is it? Well, what does it mean to win?
Ooh.
Is it to kill the other person?
That is
Yeah.
a good question.
To
That is a good
incapacitate
question.
them? Is it to
Is it
put
a
them in
battle to the
jail?
death? That's the question.
You know what? Let's say battle to the death,
Okay.
and then I'll explain my reasoning if it wasn't. You know why
Okay.
Batman would probably win.
Okay.
You know.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. Well, we'll start. Would you like to start, Michael, or would you like to start?
I
Adam? He
would-
started last time, so would
Oh
you
yeah.
start, Adam?
You know what? I can construct a counter argument if you want to go first.
Yeah.
All right. So
absolutely.
you're Adam. Your 2 minutes for why Superman would win starts now.
It's actually why Batman would win.
Why
sorry.
Batman would
I'm sorry.
win,
Why
actually,
Batman would
Jake,
beat Superman in a fight
obviously
and kill him?
not unbiased here. So Batman, he excels at exploiting his enemy's weaknesses.
Okay.
And I think that this puts him at a pretty even or even above average advantage over Superman, because Superman is, you can easily exploit Superman's weakness to kryptonite
Yep.
and to red suns, which Batman has done before by creating the bat suit that has red suns built into its gauntlets to completely nerf Superman's ability to fight back.
Sure.
So I feel like as the greatest detective, and even with his own knowledge of technology, you know, he's been able to dodge Superman's X-ray vision because he's so stealthy, and even been able to hide his own heartbeat and even his own noise from Superman, just because he's
Dark
just
Knight Returns.
so technologically advanced.
Sure.
So I feel like Batman would win this fight simply because, Superman, he has obvious weaknesses.
Mm-hmm.
And he has the money, the power, and the technology to move around Superman and put him in a position where he can beat him. You know?
Okay. All right. You had
That's
20
all I
minutes to
gotta say.
spare, but that's totally okay.
20 whole minutes?
Are you
out of 5?
20 seconds? Sorry. I can't speak
I'm
today.
just kidding.
All right, Michael, your 2 minutes starts now.
Okay, so it's trivial that Superman would be Batman here. Superman may have obvious weaknesses, but Batman's obvious weakness is that he doesn't have any superpowers. Batman is a man, a regular human man who, regardless of how bat trained he is, and regardless of how little sleep he needs and and how smart he is, he's never going to be a Kryptonian. Superman is powered by the sun. So if Superman had morality off, no plot-induced stupidity, Superman flies, and they call it sun dipping for short, but he essentially gets a supercharge from being near the sun. Now, this would put him at like pretty much planet busting levels right out the gate. And I don't think that with morality off, Batman's going to have many places to hide when the area around him has been completely, essentially nuked. Superman also has, he can think faster than Batman can. So while Batman may be smarter, Superman can perceive things faster. So even if Batman were to design a trap for Superman, he would essentially know it was coming before it even sprung. I mean, as well, like, Superman has super strength. Superman can fly. Superman just has too many tools at his disposal that he can supercharge just by being out in space, that he wouldn't even need to get close to Batman to win this fight. And if morality here is truly off, Superman doesn't need the Earth to survive. I mean, he can literally just detonate the planet. Superman can breathe in space. He can just go somewhere else. So when the arena that you're fighting in isn't even essential to one of the fighters, I think there's a clear winner.
Wow.
Interesting.
Wow.
Interesting.
That's quite the rebuttal there.
There's some nice chimes.
There were. Let's give 30 seconds to you, Mr. Panel,
All right.
to respond as part of the panel. Now begin.
Okay. So I think this fight is pretty much already over before it even starts. Batman, I mean, he's had the foresight, the planning to come up with strategies to defeat the entire Justice League before, and his level of strategy and just knowledge about each of the Justice League members, I feel like, you know, even before the fight starts, he'll already have a plan to beat Superman, even if he wasn't expecting it. You know what I mean?
So now Superman isn't allowed to know the fight's happening.
Well, say we're
Can Superman prepare?
Can Superman prepare?
Batman can.
If Superman can prepare, then Batman's in the Phantom Zone already.
Or maybe Superman's in the Phantom Zone already. It's hard to say, but with prep time, you know, Batman easily takes this because he'll have.
Time's
Yeah.
up. I also give you a minute, not
Yeah.
30 seconds. I totally.
Wow.
30 seconds was forever ago.
Yeah.
You want to respond maybe 30 seconds? Actually 30
I
seconds
can
to
do
respond to
30
that,
seconds.
Michael?
I can probably do 10.
Wow. Begin.
If Batman has prep time, then presumably so does Superman. Superman doesn't need the planet. Superman would sit in the sun for all of his prep time and destroy the planet.
All right, well.
All right, so I'm not going to lie. Superman without morality, pretty OP.
Pretty,
Yep.
But
yeah.
here's my argument for why Batman would win if morality was on, is that it's in every fight that they've had, Batman always finds a way, because Clark's greatest weakness isn't kryptonite, it's his love for other people. And I feel like if Batman has always been shown to be clever and to use anything available to him to really get the edge under his enemies. And I feel like it was shown in one comic where he exploited, or his Batman's enemies exploited Lois Lane, and they shot a bullet at her, which was a kryptonite tipped bullet,
Yeah.
and Batman or Superman
Superman's got in front
ended
of
up
it.
taking it. Yep. So I feel like Clark's greatest weakness is him always being good, always doing the right thing, and I feel like Batman's
not always a good guy.
he's not always a good guy. No, not all the time.
No.
Yeah. So if morality were turned off, I feel like it'd be or turned back on, it would be a more even fight.
I could see that,
Yeah.
honestly.
Mm-hmm.
But then you get too far into introducing plot-induced stupidity again. You know?
Oh yeah. Yeah. But I mean, our Superman that we know, Like he wouldn't try to destroy the planet.
Yeah.
If that choice were posed to him. You know, he would want to keep the planet together. He would want to see humanity flourish, but Batman has been known to use kind of shady techniques to get the edge over his fellow Justice League members.
I'd argue that he wouldn't use an innocent civilian that he could possibly get killed because his whole no-kill rule, but
even if he knew that,
and
Clark would
Superman
be there
doesn't
to
have a
save them.
no-kill rule. He just doesn't like to.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think that's
Yeah, I think gotta go with Mike on this. I think we realized that with the morality off, it kind of is a little bit of an unfair fight.
Yeah.
I think even with it on, I think it'd still be Michael, but it'd definitely be a fight.
yeah, it'd be more
One that
of a
we would
fight.
all watch.
Oh, heck
Maybe
yeah.
in a film that was released in 2016.
Yeah, we'd
Or
watch
maybe
it,
not.
but then they wouldn't fight really. They'd
Not
fight for a
really.
couple minutes, but then they'd have their moms would have the same name. That's my dream movie, you know.
Right, yeah, just off the dome.
That two people that are about to kill each other would be stopped by saying a common name.
All right, on to the next
Marvelous.
fight.
Round. I think this is the final round.
The
right?
final round. Ding, ding, ding.
This is Mario, that lovable Italian plumber, versus Sonic, the blue blur.
I thought it was Yoshi versus Velociraptor.
Oh, that's the fourth one.
This is a lightning round.
That's the lightning round. That's true.
All right.
Sonic would win.
Ooh.
What do you
think about that?
interesting.
Mario has a better mustache.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, better
Well, that's
facial
fair.
hair.
That's a very
That's a
good argument.
Good
Which,
argument. All right, I'll give myself the 2 minutes now.
Okay.
I'll start this one since we all have started now.
Yeah.
All right, beginning. Sonic
We're
would
cutting
whoop
that out.
Mario's asker, or
Ooh.
whatever you say, of questions. And that's easy. It's simple. Mario, just like the Batman argument, Mario is a man, and he cannot do much beyond that. He can grow a little bit. Sometimes he puts on a fancy hat and he can throw around a little ball of fire. But most of the time, he's just a man trying to make a living for himself. Sonic, on the other hand, is a superhuman, except he's not a human. He's a super hedgehog. And he's so fast, he can become a ball and go superhuman speeds. He's basically travels like flash speeds. I mean, it's insane. There's no one's ever clocked how fast he can run. But as a reference, he runs so fast that he can just slice through metal like he does with many of his enemies. So here's Mr. Mario Man, minding his own business. Maybe he's a little taller now because he has a mushroom in his stomach. Well, he's going to get sliced right in half by a giant ball of metal that's blue. And don't even get me started if he gets all those Chaos Emeralds, because it's over. He'll touch you and you're dead. So Mario stands no chance here, despite what he holds, despite what he swallows in his little belly, and despite who he plums. He cannot outplumb the hole in his stomach when Sonic plunges through his heart. Thank you.
Ooh.
Wow.
Wow, that's a fiery intro right there.
Wow.
Jake's not pulling any punches on this one.
Okay.
No, I'd like to hear the rebuttal.
Okay, so here's a problem with Sonic. He's not very flexible. Mario, he's got the facial hair. He's got
Important.
those dapper-looking clothes, and his biggest strength, I would say, is his ability to eat and gain superpowers from the stuff that he eats.
He does?
So, you know what? With Sonic, you know, he might be able to curl up into a ball and just bounce on enemies and beat them. But can he beat, you know, Mario when he's like the size of a skyscraper after eating a giant mushroom? Can he beat
Fair point.
a Mario who has a superstar and whenever he runs into something, he instantly kills it? So, with Sonic, sure, he runs pretty fast, but can he defeat a completely invincible Mario who's able to take on the powers of the stuff that he's eating?
All right.
It's interesting. I'd like to add for the record that,
We're adding.
that when
judge
Sonic
adds.
uses the Chaos Emeralds, he is also invincible.
Yes.
He has a comparable.
Also invincible. Also, I don't know this for sure, but they're both temporary, right? Chaos
Yes.
Emeralds are temporary?
Yes.
Both temporary. So all Whoa. So Mario becomes invincible, and guess what? Sonic runs away. And guess who's never going to catch Sonic? Nobody but Sonic is going to catch Sonic. So, and maybe Eggman every once in a while. But, so as soon as you turn invincible, it's fine. You can be invincible, but I'm just going to run away in the corner. Or I'll run up a building or something. Also, not to mention, Sonic's got all the ladies, man. Mario's been chasing after this one broad for years. Sonic's got all of them. He's kissing the human women all over the place. Amy's chasing him around.
But here's the
He's already got his princess. He's
if we're bringing love interests into this, okay, Mario, he's committed, which is something that Sonic doesn't have. He's Sonic is a player. He's never going to have a family at this rate. Mario, he's a family guy, Yeah.
Well, I think it's pretty evident that Mario likes to take things slow.
Yeah, he does. And you know what? That's not a bad thing. It develops a mature relationship. And Mario, ultimately, he's going to have a better partner and a better relationship with Peach than anything that Sonic could come up with. Sonic's just going to
Sonic
date
can
around.
have those relationships 8 times a day.
Yeah.
Just running through them.
Speed dating.
Yeah,
That's right.
what's that going to do
You're
to
too
him
slow.
and his mental health, What's that going to do for his future family? Once he has a family, is he just going to run away from them too?
He doesn't
Leave
need
them
them.
in the dust? Here's a problem with Sonic. Okay?
Well, tell me,
He's
what's the
gonna
problem with Sonic?
Okay, as soon as he
He's
has
perfect.
kids, as soon as he gets married and has kids, he's just going to run away from them.
Yeah?
Leave them in the dust.
Guess what? I'll find another one.
That's actually my Sonic original character.
That's
he got left by Sonic as a child.
Sonic is the son of Sonic?
No, my Sonic original character.
Oh, I see. Yes.
Sonic.
Plus, there's 2 Sonics. There's the old Sonic, the 3D one, what was it?
The
Generations
hot
or
belly
whatever.
one.
There's 2 of them. Mario's not got 2. He just got rounder as he got older.
He got fatter.
He got fatter.
All right, I'm calling it there before this comes to blows.
Before it gets personal.
Both of these... You know what? I'll tell you something. Mario.
Oh, no.
He's a traditional guy.
Yeah.
And that's something that you don't have with Sonic.
No.
You got kind of an edgy character. Mario over here.
Yeah.
He's old enough to have developed a mustache.
Well, see, the thing about being
Gain a little
traditional
experience about
is
life.
that you're getting left in the past, just like Sonic when he kills Mario. And beats
Listen, the bell has
beats a
been
morsel.
rung, gentlemen.
Hold on, host.
This
We're
fight is
talking
over.
here.
Get this guy out of
Slamming
here.
the bell.
Mario would eat Sonic and gain his supers. Beat
You have
that!
to catch him first.
Would he eat Sonic?
He would eat a hedgehog
Yeah?
and gain super speed himself.
Wow.
So what do
Would
you
he
have
eat
to
an
say about
echidna?
that?
All right. Well, you both clearly are very deeply invested in this topic, and you both made
The only
very.
person who's not deeply invested here is Sonic with his family. That's
I can tell you what is deeply invested. He's deeply invested in Mario's heart when he rips it out.
No.
Come at me, Jake.
I will.
Well, I'm gonna have to separate you two. You both made very good arguments on behalf of your character, more impassioned than I even expected. But the point that stuck with me through all of that is that their powers are generally temporary,
Yeah.
and that Sonic, if he ever gets into trouble, he can just run somewhere else, and Mario can't do anything about it because he's not fast enough.
No.
So overall, I'd probably give it to Sonic just because you're too slow. But as far as like emotional satisfaction goes, I think Mario takes it. So that one's a tough one. But I'd give Sonic the death battle and Mario the mental health.
Here's why Mario would win. What's a life on the run? What's that really worth? Just constantly running from things, never really facing your problems.
He's
road
facing a lot
is
of
his only
problems,
home.
I'd say.
Yeah.
All of his games, he faces a new problem.
No, it always feels like, a life on the run, always confronting new problems. Mario stays in one spot. No, stable guy.
Except for when he
Stable
goes
guy.
to space.
Yeah,
Yeah.
except when he doesn't.
Yeah.
Except when he leaves his home
and
constantly to
flies
find
on a
his
plane to an island.
person who he
To
hopes will be
chase
his wife
after
one day.
one woman.
Yeah, one woman
Who
who will never take him.
will always.
Will never
be
accept
by
him.
his
He chased
side.
after Paulina once too in that Donkey Kong game. I don't know if
That's
you've
right.
heard of it.
That's another woman.
That's all I have to say about that. Mario wins. Cool.
I'd toss that one to Sonic.
Sonic
but
rips him to shreds.
Mario overall probably leads a more content life, but Sonic in a death battle he's probably gonna take it.
Yeah, he's seen shit.
So
The film.
last week, so you know how we told you guys we were gonna watch The Village. Well, we totally watched it. Wink, wink, wink. No, seriously, we actually watched it. Please, you gotta believe me. They're gonna take me away.
We're
if
not
you
gonna
don't
make
believe
it
me
up
right
this
now.
time.
I
We
know the
watched it.
ending.
We watched The Village. I had seen it before. Adam had seen it before.
I've
Jake
seen
had
the
not.
ending.
Adam had not seen it. Adam had seen the ending.
Adam had only seen the ending.
Oh no, I've seen it before.
Oh,
Okay.
I thought you'd just seen it. Okay.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So, as the one who hadn't seen it before, Jake, why don't you start us off?
Not a fan.
Really?
Fair
Why?
enough.
Yeah, I'd take my big fat thumb and I'd turn it down.
Ooh. Wow.
I thought I'm not.
What?
Not enough. Not enough good sounds. you know?
Yeah, that's what it was. It was
Yeah,
the
yeah.
sound. I couldn't hear it. I didn't hear it. I had the sound turned all the way down. No, it was the biggest problem with it, and then has to go back to Shamalama Ding Dong.
Oh, yeah. My man himself.
I saw Sixth Sense first, and I'm blown away, and I love that movie.
Yeah.
I think it's really well done,
Mhm.
and it's a lot of it has to do with the spoiler, but I think as a movie, it's really well done.
Yep.
Everything else I've seen from Shamalama Ding Dong has not fulfilled the hole that Sixth Sense gave me.
Have you seen Unbreakable?
Yes, I didn't. Nah, same thing.
fair enough.
It just the problem with it is the writing. It is horribly written. People say things, and I'm like, what? I'm trying to think of some examples, but it's just. And I know the whole point was that they're old timey, so they say
old
things.
English.
They speak in old English, and they say things weird. But there's things where people just say things, they just won't even address them. No one will be like, "What did you just say?" I don't know. There's some things that were just strange, and I understand that. Yes, the village is strange. That's the point. They're all weird a little bit,
Yeah.
and they're all off.
What are some examples?
I know, I'm trying to think of some, but. So give me a minute while I rant. But I just thought that the writing in general was just very all over the place. The story was a little like there was no exact, and Shamalama Ding Dong loves to do this, where he doesn't follow a character all the way through it. He kind of follows a group of people through a thing. And so you're accustomed to thinking that Lucius, which is Joaquin, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Lucius is this main character, and he's going to find something out, and he's going to be the one to do it. And he progresses, even starts to go into the woods, and then they kill him.
And I send the blind girl instead.
And then they kill him, yes. And obviously spoilers because we're talking about it. But
Yeah.
they kill him. And they said, yeah, and they're like, send the blind girl, you know, the secondary character we've been talking about this whole movie.
Yeah.
And then you suddenly are like, okay, and you have to readjust yourself to now follow the blind girl and like the blind girl. They didn't even explain. I feel like like I said, the blind girl was a secondary character the entire time, and then suddenly you're rooting for her. That threw me off, just as a plot. The twist, I didn't think was very twisty. I kind of saw it coming, honestly.
Really?
I guess the reason why they formed it was interesting, but it was, again, it's a very Shamalama Ding Dong ending where it was like, okay, that's a cool reason why that happened. That's not really a twist. It's just like, so it's an origin story that you just forgot to tell us.
Okay.
I just had issues with it. I was not super engaged in it the whole time. I felt very separated from it.
Okay. That's fair.
The end. I'll look for some examples of what people say weird things.
So
I know you guys both loved it, so I'd love to hear why you like it.
I think it's a pretty good movie overall. It's not a movie that it's not a hill I would die on saying it's the best movie ever made.
Sure.
But I think it was an enjoyable movie. It has this ominous tone the whole time through, where you're supposed to believe that the ones we don't speak of, is that what they call them?
Yes.
are this like weird, crazy monsters that live in the woods that they formed like a very shaky pact with,
Sure.
and they will come in and cut people up if things get wrong.
Right.
And you're given this like this sense of like, oh, okay, everything's ominous, and if we do things wrong, they're gonna come out of the woods and get us.
Yep.
And I think it's cool that hangs throughout the movie, and
It does.
then you realize that like this is what the people in the village were supposed to be feeling. They made you another villager, until it gets revealed to you, like, you know, you're there with Ivy when her father reveals that they were just costumes,
Their suits.
except for there's one guy that's not following the rules.
Right.
Gosh, his character was creepy.
Yeah. What was his character too?
What was
Noah?
his character?
Like Noah.
I mean, Noah, he seemed like a mentally challenged individual.
Yeah, I know. I'm
I
just
don't
saying,
like that
what,
they
like his
painted
point
him
in the story,
And like a twisted, like Lenny from Of Mice and Men kind of
Yeah,
role,
right.
where he just like is all like, you know, he's all he's all selfish. Like,
Totally.
I'm gonna go get what I want, and like because I don't know. But I also think that like he kind of breaks the scheme with the village, because like he's the character that like, that's weird. He stands out. He gets excited when people start talking about, because
Right.
he's one of them kind
right.
of. And can we talk about how smooth my boy Lucius Hunt was?
With his face, you mean?
Was his face
Smooth face?
No. I'm
Doesn't
talking
have a
about
beard?
in the scene where, you know, the whole time it's like unclear whether he's like actually into Ivy or not, or if she's just
Yeah.
like kind of coming up with it.
Oh, yeah.
And then he's like, "And I will dance with you on our wedding day." And it's like, whoa.
Backwards.
And then immediately
stab.
afterwards he gets stabbed.
Yes.
But I thought, you know,
Comes out
there
of
was
nowhere.
there was like a fun little romance between those two, because he like at the very beginning of the movie, which I think M. Night Shyamalan usually isn't great at comic timing, but
No.
the part where the Ivy's sister goes to tell Lucius that they shouldn't hide their love anymore, and then immediately cuts to her crying, like sobbing
good.
in her bedroom, was
That
really
was good.
funny.
Yeah.
And I thought they built like a nice little relationship between him and Ivy. I do think it was a mistake on their part to not have him be involved in the last act at all.
Yeah.
I think they probably should have been sent together to go get
Totally.
the medicine or something.
Totally.
But I see, like, I can kind of get from a narrative standpoint, like, okay, we need something to push the elders over the edge and like actually let someone go.
Sure.
So,
Could have
oh
been
no,
Ivy.
he's gravely ill. You know. But
Yeah.
overall, I mean, I just like, it's not one of those movies where I'm like, it's the smartest movie I ever saw, or like, it's not gonna go in my list of favorite movies. But I just enjoyed it overall. You know, like I just thought it was a good experience. I wasn't like turned off by it, I guess.
No. Yeah, no, and I can see your argument about it. It does do a good job of I like the world that it created. I'll say that. It was I like the eerie feeling of like, what are these things? And they're chasing after us. We don't know what they are. And we literally can't talk about them,
Yeah.
you know?
Especially with how weird, like, and taboo the black boxes were that had their stuff from the
Yeah.
real. I'm making air quotes, but
Yes.
the real world. But it was seen as like this weird, like, supernatural, like, you're hiding your sins in there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I think it does, and I do like the idea of it, that these monsters were just people. I don't think it's horribly the what's the word? The whole like the thought, the story, the theory of the movie, I think is pretty smart. And it provides a good tension. It's just the dialogue and some of the strange the way that they go about this plot is just I think really messy.
It was an average movie. Like all
right,
all
centrist
throughout-
over here.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I didn't really care for it. I didn't really think it like was extraordinary. You know, I think for the most part, the movie was pretty standard, and then the ending it made you think for a little bit. It had a little bit of that shock factor where you're like, oh, wow, you know, and those kinds of spoilers where, you know, there are different kinds, and like you mentioned, Jake, the M. Night Shyamalan Ding Dong, he withheld kind of how that little society sprang up, and that was really interesting to see, an 18th century village actually, oh, spoiler alert, be incorporated into the modern world as well.
Yeah.
It was I mean, it kind of baffled me a little bit, but I wouldn't say that the rest of the movie would be all that memorable aside from the ending.
I got the feeling that it was being written as I was watching it. You know what I mean? Like they're like,
fair.
and then
Like he wrote the acts separately. He wrote it without knowing what
Right.
the ending was going to be. yet.
yeah, I almost got that just because it was kind of messy and it didn't it didn't foreshadow itself very well. And maybe I need to go back and watch it again, but I didn't think it did.
That's fair. I mean,
kind of like
I get that because, but he also didn't want like an observant viewer to be like, oh, this is the real world, like this is modern day America.
Yeah.
I did think it was kind of interesting at the end that he kind of subverts expectations because we're kind of led to believe through the movie that even at the end, like these people were enlightened and they experienced tragedy, so they wanted to move away from the world and crime and everything and just be on their own and have a pure society. And it even ends with them talking about like, can we keep this place going? You know?
Yeah.
But I almost think that what actually happens in the movie kind of proves that they were naive to leave in the first place, because they leave because they think there's too much like anger and greed and everything in the world and they want to go back to simpler times.
Yes.
But we're shown with literally the first person that Ivy meets who had no incentive to help her, that there's still genuine kindness out there in the world and that people will help each other.
Yeah. Yeah, I did think about that.
So there was like almost an interesting like parallels to like what we're seeing in the village and what we're seeing in the real world. Because
Right.
they're like, yes, okay, did we make the right decision? Yeah, we did. Let's keep it going. This is a pure and great place. And then on the outside, and I don't know if Ivy actually came back with this conclusion, but like the first person she met that had no incentive whatsoever to help her, literally could have just arrested her.
Yeah.
Helped her. Like literally got like put his job and his livelihood in jeopardy to help this random person that he just met in the woods. And I thought that was like kind of a cool thing. Like I honestly don't know if it was intended.
And I waited for that dynamic too of her being afraid of him and her being on her guard. And there was a little bit of that, but there wasn't really. It was just kind of like, oh, hey, how
Can
you
you help
doing?
me?
I'm George.
Hey.
Like she wasn't afraid of him. Like this
driving
is
this
someone
truck.
from a whole different world. They drove by in a car, and
I
she's
mean, she
like,
can see the
she's
car.
like,
She's blind.
oh well, yeah, okay, yeah, it's true.
Did you
Good
even
point.
watch
As I watched it, I forgot. I forgot that the Ivy was the one that saw it. But I don't know. This roaring monster then falls over, and he climbs out of it. He's like, "Hey, what's up?" And she's like, "Hey, how you doing?"
Hey, give me this stuff.
I don't know.
So overall, movie you would watch again, probably only once, and then put it down.
I'd say that. Yeah, I think it's worth a watch. I think it's interesting. The world that he created with that, you don't see many movies that take place in that world.
Yeah.
There's like that and the Vavitch.
Yeah.
And that which really reminded me of that, and I can see, I'm sure there was a lot of inspiration coming from that movie. But it's interesting to see that time period in that world play it out.
Oh yeah.
I'd probably watch it again, but I'd probably want another like break between watching it like I had, just because like just let it kind of sit over there for a while and not have to think about it and then come back to it and be like, oh yeah, this movie.
Oh yeah, that's fair.
And yeah, I'm glad that we watched it again, and I would watch it again, but it's not a movie that I would just binge nonstop. It's also not a movie that I could watch anytime.
Definitely not scary at all.
No.
And I can totally see why people were upset that it was framed as a scary movie.
Because
it's not even a
the
little bit.
trailer is a complete departure from what the movie is.
Totally.
Which I think is also, Mastermind M. Night Shyamalan. It's a horror movie. Just kidding.
Right. He
It
does
was
that a
all
lot
fake.
too, because I thought Split was that way too.
Yeah, where it was a thriller and not horror.
Yeah, and I
liked
didn't know
Split.
because I had not seen too much of Shyamalan Ding Dong's things. But that's what he does. He does like movies that are not scary.
He doesn't really do.
They're just
horror.
like,
yeah.
oh, that was kind of creepy, I guess.
Yeah. He
But then he's like,
tension
"In a
more
world."
than fear, I think.
Yes, he loves tension. Yeah.
And he likes to defy expectations.
Yes,
Definitely.
he likes tension
Shamalama
and
ding
then
dong
flipping that
twist.
to something you don't expect.
Visionary director. Next week, wait, what are we gonna watch?
Howard the Duck.
Howard the
freaking Duck! Yes!
You thought we didn't
Yes,
know.
yes,
Of course we need the
yes.
movie.
I'm
My
not as
brain
excited
tried
about
to
this.
repress it. It tried to push it down and not remember that we
We
were
haven't
gonna
even
watch
seen
Howard
it
the
yet,
Duck.
and we're already repressing
I've
it.
never seen it. We
Nobody
watched
has.
the trailer, and boy,
Boy, am I
it
excited.
looks like a fun romp.
It-
That's something.
I'll be honest, I'm not looking forward to it.
Howard the Practical Effects Duck.
Yes. This is a movie from the 80s. Let me make sure.
It sounds correct.
I swear, if there's romance between the girl and the duck,
Oh, there's
There
gonna
are.
be
We
plenty
already
of
saw it
romance.
in the
There's gonna be some
trailer.
raunchy romance
There's
with
already
that
a
duck.
shot in the trailer of
Howard
it.
the Duck he's after the ladies.
This is 1986, based
Yeah.
on the comic book character too.
Yes, Howard the Duck.
we had
oh,
it,
the
yes.
80s were fantastic.
Howard the Duck still shows up and stuff. He was a cameo in Guardians of the Galaxy.
Yeah,
Oh yeah,
that's
There's
right.
an after the credit scene that had
that's
him
true.
in it.
That's true. Yeah, he's a big deal. So we're watching that. The 1986 film Howard the Duck.
That should be a fun time, and I hope
I'm
to come back and tell
very
you that it was
excited.
a 10 out of 10 best movie I ever saw. New favorite comic book character. You know, like that about your expectation.
I wish the viewers could see my face right now.
Adam was straight up afraid.
I don't want to watch this movie. I will watch it though because I've got a responsibility.
To
Yes, you
you, the viewer.
To you
the
listeners.
viewer.
We're
So that
watching
way
this.
They're not
for
viewers.
you.
They're not viewing.
You don't have to. You
I
don't have
guess
to
you view
watch
with
it.
your eyes.
Yeah.
Loyal listeners.
The listeners, yes.
So we're doing the hard work for you.
Yeah. All right. Well,
Well, I mean, the whole point is you're supposed to watch it with us. So
yeah, is
go
that-
watch Howard
we
the
suffered,
Duck this
we
week.
suffer together.
Yes.
It's a group experience.
Or
Yes.
we could just suffer alone, and you can just leave us to it.
send your comments to capesandcontrollerscast@gmail.com.
Yes. We're sorry for any horrible things that this film gives to you and submits.
But
to
also,
you.
we're not sorry. That's all for this week on Capes and Controllers. We'll see